we're able to look at how you enable the online archive from the Exchange Admin Center. Don't forget that anything that has to do with managing mailboxes is from where? The Exchange Admin Center. So that's where you get to enable your online archive for users. Now, after enabling the online archive, I did explain that you have the auto-expanding archive. That one is only enabled for users that have the Exchange Online Plan 2, right? And you can only use the Windows PowerShell to enable that auto-expanding archive. So you see the conditions for auto-expanding. It has to be for a user that has Exchange Online Plan 2, and you also have to use the Windows PowerShell. So you must know how to use a Windows PowerShell as a Microsoft 365 administrator. Now, after having said that, Auto Expanding Archive gives you additional 1.5 terabyte mailbox size that is not visible. You can see it, but it's there, it exists. The only one you can see is the online archive that has been enabled. On the Outlook web app, it's called the In-Place Archive, while in your desktop app, you will see it as Online Archive. So that's it about the archiving. Now, why do we need retention tags and retention policies? So a retention tag, from the name retention, you're retaining the emails for what duration of time, right? The emails in your mailbox before you move them to the online archive. How long do you want these emails to stay? Or how do I put it? What action do you want to be performed on those emails? That's where the retention comes in. Now, this retention policy, you could have instances like, okay, I have a mailbox size of say 50 gigabytes. Now my mailbox is already at 40 gigabytes, and I'm looking to move emails from my mailbox to the online archive. You have to apply a retention policy on that mailbox. Take note that we have what we call retention tags and we have retention policies. A retention policy have more than one tag, right? But you can only create tag. You have to first create the retention tag before you can have your retention policy. Now, you're going to ask yourself, you take, for example, if you're the user, you're going to ask yourself that, okay, the mails in my mailbox, I have mails as far back as, let's say 2022. So now I want only emails that are a month old. Anything above 1 month should go to the online archive mailbox, such that when you apply the retention policy, you don't have to manually move those emails. You don't have to delete the emails because your mailbox is almost full. No, you don't have to buy additional storage because your mailbox is almost full. All you just need to do is apply the retention policy on that mailbox, and on its own, it will be moving the emails. So as you are receiving emails, as the days are going by, the emails will be getting moved to the what? To the online archive mailbox. So now I'm going to share my screen. I'll be sharing the article on retention tags and retention policies. I'll show you how to create a retention tag, how to create a retention policy, then how to apply that on a user's mailbox. So these are the things I'll be covering this evening. Just give me a minute. Let me share the article with you. And yeah. So I need you to confirm from the chat that you've gotten the link to the retention tags and retention policies. Sure, I'll share my screen now and just take us through what you can see in the Microsoft article. Okay, so we have this. So one beautiful thing is you don't really have to stress much. Once you have these articles, you just read through, and it's very simple. Seriously, very, very simple and interesting. So here, I believe you can see my screen. You have the retention tags and retention policies in Exchange Online. So they're saying that to proactively retain or delete mailbox content in this, we recommend that you use retention policies. So this retention policies is not always about moving emails to the online archive. You can have instances where you say, okay, well, even after this duration of time, delete the emails, or delete and allow recovery. It's two. It's either you're permanently deleting, or you're deleting and you're able to recover the emails, or you're moving to the online archive. So these are three instances. So if you look through, we also have what we call MRM. We have this MRM in Exchange Online that's also used in most times. After creating your retention tags, you must run this start manage folder assistant. That's the last thing you get to do after creating your retention tag and retention policies. So now let's just have a quick brief on what you have here. Looking at the MRM, it's more like this is what actually processes the emails in your mailbox. So before discussing the details about each retention feature, it's very important that you learn how each feature is used in the overall MRM strategy. So take, for example, the first one, you have assigning retention policy tags to default folders. Default folders would mean you're not applying the retention policy to the entire mailbox. We have different folders in Outlook. You have your inbox folder, you have your sent items folder, you have your draft folder, you have your junk folder. So for each folder, the tag is only going to be applied to individual folders, not the entire mailbox. So you could also be applying the default policy tags to mailboxes to manage the retention of all untagged items. You can allow the user to assign personal tags. So these are all different types of retention tags that you can apply. So now if you look through, scroll down, you see after creating your retention tag, we have three different types of retention tags. Three different types: the default policy tag, the retention policy tags, and the personal tags. Don't worry, when we get to the compliance, so the admin portal you use to configure or to set this retention policy is the compliance, which is the Microsoft Purview Admin Center. Exactly. I should include the links, right? Okay, I'll try as much as possible to go back to those videos and add every relevant link that relates to the topic that is being taught, right? I'll do that. So here you get to see the different types of retention tags. The default actually applies to all items, right? The retention policy tag, we have the default policy tag, the retention policy tag. For retention, it says it applies to default folders. Then you have the personal tags that you on your own, for individuals, you can decide to move those tags, move the emails yourself. So it's usually used in Outlook, either the desktop Outlook or the web app by users themselves, not necessarily by the administrator. So it's good that you know these things, because in most interview questions, they ask, what are retention tags? What can you say about retention tags? How do you apply? From where do you apply retention tags? They would ask you. These are questions that they've asked us in interviews. So it's important that you take your time to understand each one. You should be able to list the types and differentiate between each retention tag. So if you see number two, they've just listed them out. Each step, when you create the retention policy, you link the retention tag to the retention policy. In other words, you must have created the tag. I'll show you how the process is. You create the tag. After creating the tag, then you add it to a policy, right? So afterwards, you now apply the retention policy to the mailbox. After which, the managed folder assistant, which I told you earlier, you must run that PowerShell command. So one reason why we also run the PowerShell command is that it's like a manual way of forcing the process to run on the mailbox, right? Because ideally, when you apply these tags or retention policies on the mailbox, it might take as long as 7 days before those emails will start moving. So instead of having to wait that long, what we normally do is we'll just run the start manage folder assistance PowerShell command, and right there majority of us are support engineers. So right there, you begin to see those mails move, either as an admin or whichever way, you begin to see those mails move. Then you can see that after that, number 6 says the mailbox would be processed, right? Either it's the default policy tags or the retention policy tags that you applied to the mailbox would take action. So that's it about the different types of retention policies and the steps that's involved in applying the tags and the policies to a mailbox. Now, look at retention tags. They've given us a pictorial representation of how these retention tags work. Basically, they are used to apply retention settings to folders and individual items. So when a message reaches, it specifies how long a message remains in the mailbox and what action to be taken when the message reaches the specified retention age. I think this is what I've explained earlier. So how long should the message should the emails be in your mailbox? After that period, what should happen? Right? That's where the movement now comes in. What should happen? So when the message reaches its retention age, it's moved to the user's archive mailbox. It's moved there or it's deleted. So scrolling down, you can see a pictorial example of how this is configured, either from for Exchange Online. You have this particular word automatically being applied to the entire mailbox. So that you know is a default policy tag. Then you have the retention action. What should happen? The retention action says here you should delete after 7 years. Good. Now take note that 7 years, it's that duration is usually calculated in days, not in years. You not see the option for you to pick 1, 2 years, 3 years. No, you have to do the 365 times 7, right? That's why you're seeing a 2,555. So it's in days. The duration is usually calculated in days, not in months, not in years. Now, that's that. We've looked at the different types of retention tags. You can read that up on your own. So this is about personal tags, the one you get to apply from within Outlook, right? That's the difference between the personal tags and the other two tags. For personal tags, you as a user can apply the retention tag on your own without having the admin do that for you, either from the Outlook web app or from the Outlook client app. So if you're talking about the retention age, I've told you it's calculated in days. If you're talking about the retention actions, I told you the first one is either you're moving to archive, or the second, delete and allow recovery, or the third one, permanently delete. So this one is even saying mark as past retention limit. I don't think that was really necessary. That this one marks a message as expired. So the three major actions are move to archive. If you're not moving to archive, delete and allow recovery, right? Then permanently delete. Take note, the difference between delete and allow recovery. When you delete, you can still recover the emails. But for permanently delete, if it's gone, it is OT law for permanently permanently delete. That's more like a purge, right? So that's it. So scrolling down, like I said, on your own, you can read through. So there are instances, yeah, before I proceed, there are instances when we place mailboxes on holds, right? What's the essence of placing a mailbox on hold? When a mailbox is on hold, what holds actually does is that it it prevents loss of data by in an instance where a user mistakenly deletes a mail, right? There are instances where a user can just delete a mail, then only for the user to not even just delete, like permanently delete a mail. So there's that point where you permanently delete a mail, you want to recover the email, you can't recover the email. So when there's a hold on that user's mailbox, the emails that the user permanently deletes, you can still recover because of the hold. that we have on the mailbox. So after this class, the next one we'll be looking at is holds, the in-place hold. You have in-place hold, litigation hold. So what this hold does actually is to help you preserve the emails, right, in the recoverable items folder. So when a user mistakenly deletes a mail, you don't get to lose the emails. You can still recover the emails because there's a hold on that user's mailbox. So that will be that about the explanation. I think the next thing I should do is, okay, let me take this last one, which is the retention policies. I did say that retention policies can have more than one retention tag, but you can only create one retention tag, but a retention policy can have more than one retention tag. So you must add them to your retention policy, which is the tag. You must first create the tag before you add it to your retention policy. Then you now apply the policy to mailboxes. A mailbox can't have more than one retention policy. Retention tags can be linked to or unlinked from a retention policy at any time, and the changes automatically takes effect for all mailboxes that have the policies applied. So this is what a retention policy looks like. You can have these tags, which is what we've discussed earlier. So what I'll just do now is you have the manage folder assistant. I'll just take you straight off to the compliance admin center. Every other thing you see here is I'll say detailed explanation. It's a detailed explanation that you can read on your own. So I'll just go straight to the compliance admin center. This is my admin center. Um,
Hello.
Compliance admin center is now your
Hello.
Purview admin center. Yeah, I'm with you.
You said compliance admin center. What is the relation with exchange admin center with compliance admin center with the retention policy? Because that's how I will try to. Are you going to? Is it tag? You apply tag in compliance. Are you apply
Am I
tag in
what?
compliance?
I didn't get that.
The tag. Are you attach a tag in
Okay.
compliance or tag compliance
Okay.
or
Okay. Okay.
because
I'll
you
answer
miss?
that question.
Okay.
Yeah. So now let me take it again. I said the Exchange Admin Center, right, is basically where we manage anything that has to do with managing mailboxes is from the Exchange Admin Center, right? Good. So you say compliance. We have different admin centers, right? Each admin center has its own uh, different feature. The things you do in exchange, you cannot do in compliance. The thing you do in compliance, you cannot do in security. So you should be able to differentiate each admin center and what they can do or what ought to be done in that admin center. So when I have my mailbox in exchange and I need to create a retention tag and a retention policy, I have to create them from the compliance, right? I have to create those tags and the policies from the compliance admin center. Why? Because that's compliance has to do with everything that relates to data management, right? Data like how you get to keep your information protection intact. That's what the compliance does for us. That's the new. It's called the Microsoft Purview, or you say compliance. That's the old name. Take note. You're creating your tags and your policy, and your policies from the compliance. But after creating them, you will now go to Exchange and apply the tags that you created on the mailbox, right? Is that clear, Busayo?
I'm clear with that. Yes.
You okay. So where you're creating the tags is in the compliance. Where you're applying the tag on the mailbox is from the exchange. So now I'll be sharing my screen to show you my compliance admin center. I need you to just confirm for me that you can see that screen. Let me just share my entire screen with you guys. Mhm. So this is it. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So if you can see my screen, I'm already signed into the Microsoft 365 tenant. I have my admin portal here. So I'll just click on show all, scroll down the left navigation pane, click on compliance. So when I get to the compliance admin center, so if you also have your credentials, you can sign into your admin portal, right? And just follow the steps while I explain. So yeah, the old compliance portal is retired. So we're making use of the new one. Let me hide this. Uh, I don't think in the article it's stated where you go to in the compliance to do this, but yeah, just look through. There's always a path. You have to follow that path. So if you look through the left navigation pane, you have solutions, right? You click on solutions, then we have all the solutions that you can manage within the compliance admin center. You have the audit, communication compliance alerts, compliance manager, data catalog. So where we're going to is the data lifecycle management. So that's where you get to create your retention tag and your retention policies. So when you get here, you click on this exchange legacy. Take note, you're starting from the solutions. When you get to solutions, click on data lifecycle management. And right under here, you have your exchange legacy. Click on the drop down arrow. You have your retention policies. You have your retention tags. So like I said, you're starting with the retention tag. That's the first thing you did work with, the retention tag. So by default, we have quite a number of retention tags here that have been created for you. The only time you need to create a new retention tag is if your condition, the condition for your own retention is not listed here, right? So from your own end, just scroll down or scroll through and read through each retention tag. Here you have 1 month personal. So if you look at this type, you have the name tab, the type tab, the retention period tab, right? And the retention action tab. So these are the 4 things. The duration, the duration, it should have a name, right? Then the duration, which is the retention period, the type, then the retention action. So if you're looking at the type, there are 3. Either the personal, the default, or the, this one is showing junk email, default, personal, or deleted items. So basically, let's just look at, let's say we're taking this default now. If you're looking at the type, you should also be considering the retention action. In most cases, most people don't want to delete, they want to archive. I think I created this one as a test, or someone did. You have a default, you have the retention period at 730 days. This is a custom. This is a custom tag. So let's use the default tags that were created here. You will usually have hmm, yeah, see this one now. This one says default 2-year move to archive. So this wasn't created by anyone. It's a default. You see this one that says 1 week. That means after 7 days, what should happen? Delete. 1 year. After 365 days, what should happen? Delete. 5 years, do your 365 times 5, you see it's 1825, delete. So now this one, default 2 year, I would rather work with this one, archive. So I'll just select that. No, in this instance, you don't select, right? You don't select. You only get to select when you are creating yours. Take for example, now I want to create a new tag. I've shown you all the tags that we have by default that have been that's there. You just need to choose which of them do you want. So if it doesn't meet your retention condition, just come here and create yours. Using let's say I'm using Prosper for identification purpose, right? So I know that that's the one I created. I'm using Prosper. You don't necessarily have to put a description, but if you want to, just say retention tag. That's just a description. You click on next. Now this is where you get to see the different retention tags, right? Don't forget you have your default, hmm, that applies to the entire mailbox. You have your retention policy tags that applies to what? The default folder. Then you have your personal. That's the one you can use in Outlook desktop or the Outlook web app. So now if I'm applying this automatically to the entire mailbox, when you select that option, you click on next. It's very simple and straightforward. Now it's telling you um, what when what's the duration period, right? It can be one or more. So let's say we are using uh, 30 days makes 1 month. 3 months, that'll be 30 times 3. I'll put my 90 here. So what should be the retention action? The retention action is it delete and allow recovery or permanently delete or move to archive. So I'm picking move to archive. On your own, you can play around with the other ones. It's your test tenant. So yeah, I click next and that's all. I click submit. I've created a tag, right? So now you're going to see the tag I created for Prosper here. Can anyone see Prosper's tag here? Okay,
Yes.
beautiful. So you can see,
Yes.
yeah, so that's so this is Prosper. So you see these ones that are carrying name. This one you're seeing Rafia, you're seeing Test Rafia. Those are actually tags that I created that the admin, okay, in whichever scenario they are created tags. But you see those ones that don't carry names, the likes of this one now, you know that is a default follow com tag. Call them follow com tag. Yeah, so it's either you're creating that one or if you choose to make another one, let's say Idris, right? Retention tag, you click next. So this time around, I'm not picking the first one. You know, the other for Prosper we used default, right? For Idris, I'm using the second one. Now for Idris, in Idris's case, because this tag has to do with a folder, you have to tell us which of the folders do you want this retention tag to apply on, right? Which folder? Is it the inbox folder? So click on this drop down arrow. You see a list of the different folders that you have in Outlook. These are the different folders you have in Outlook. So it's going to ask you which of them do you want to apply the retention tag to? Is it the deleted items? Or is it your calendar? I know calendar is, yeah, calendar, draft folder, inbox folder, junk email folder, your outbox, your sent items, you know. So which of these folder do you want to apply the tag to, right? So you select it. I'm picking the junk email folder and it's that simple. You click next, it would ask you the number of days. So if we're not using 90 days and we're using 30 days, it doesn't necessarily have to be a month. It can be 15 days, whatever number of days you want, just select it there. I pick 15 and that's all, right? I click next and I submit. So that's that about retention tags. You can go ahead and play around with the personal tag. So after creating your tag, it's two ways. Either you've created yours or you choose to pick from the ones we already have here. When you're done with your retention tag, you go back to retention policies. Yeah, so for retention policy, you don't have a list of policies. You are the one that is to create your policy. You're the one that would create your policy and add the tags to the policy, right? So now I'm creating a new policy and I'm naming my policy as what name should I give this policy now? It still has to take the user's name in most cases, or any friendly name, just so you're able to differentiate between each policy. So I'm putting Prosper here because I think I started with Prosper. So when you put the name, you click on the add tag. So this is where you get to add the tag. Click on the add tag and yeah. So we have the list of all the tags here. So you can see Idris. This is Idris. If I scroll down, I would see Prosper. So which of them do I want to select? I'll just select Prosper and I'll click add. And yeah, that's my retention policy. I click next and I submit. It's that simple. It's that simple. So I click done. Now you'll see that this is Prosper's policy here, right? I did explain that you can have more than a tag in a policy. Hmm? Prosper's tag applies to the entire mailbox. So if I still choose to edit Prosper's tag now, one thing I'll do is if you want to edit Prosper's policy, I mean, here it's a policy that has Prosper's tag. So if I want to edit this policy, I'll click on the pencil icon. Mhm. So now I want to add another tag to this policy. I'll just click on add tag. Then I can add Idris's own. It would allow me. I can also choose to add Lisa's own. So you can add as many tags as you want to basically, right? So I'm just picking Idris's own. I click add and I click next and I click submit. So now we've covered retention tag, we've covered retention policy. The next thing now is to what? Apply the policy to the user's mailbox. Apply the policy to the user's mailbox. So we're done with compliance now. Then I'll just go to, I don't have a user that is Prosper, right? But I can actually apply that retention policy to any user in my tenant. Doesn't necessarily have to be only Prosper. You can apply the retention policy to any user of your choice. So I'll sign in now to my Exchange Admin Center, and yeah, you see how we get to apply the retention policy to a user's mailbox. It's still loading. I request you just wait for the page to pop up. So we're going to see a list of all the mailboxes and we'll select the user's mailbox that we want to apply the retention policy on. I don't know why it's taking this long to load. Okay, we're almost there. Still asking me to sign in. Okay, so mm, funny enough, I can't do anything except the page comes up, right? Very close. So if you are on your own, if your own Exchange Admin Center is up already, one thing you can do is you just select a user mailbox, right? So mine is up now. So mine is up now. So on your left navigation, please, I would appreciate you mute yourselves, right? To avoid the background noise. Please mute yourself. So yeah, we are here, mailboxes. I'm just gonna apply that Prosper's retention policy on my mailbox. I'm picking Rafia. So I'll just come over to orders. Okay, here we have okay, that's where you get to apply your archive. We're not applying archive. What we're doing is we want to apply the retention policy. Hmm? So you can see Rafia already has a retention policy, which is the Lisa policy. I don't want to use Lisa, rather I want to use, let's go. You can change that policy. Let's check someone else here. I think this is Abel. This is a user here. Just go to mailbox. For this user, good. So for this user, or for every user in an organization, it's always the default MRM policy. So what you just do is click on, I'm sure you can all see my screen. Just hover around, scroll down, you see retention policy, click on manage mailbox policies. When you click on manage mailbox policies, what policy are you applying, or what policy do you want to apply here? It's the retention policy. So I'll just click on this drop down arrow and you see the list of all the retention policies that I have here, right here. So for this particular user, the one I want to use is Prosper. So I'll just click on Prosper, click on save, and that's all. That's all. Very simple, right? And I'll just refresh my Exchange Admin Center from the top left. Go back to confirm that the retention policy has been applied to the user mailbox. So that's basically how you apply retention policies on a mailbox. Go to the Exchange Admin Center, select the user mailbox, which is this user. Okay, so that's that user, and we're clicking on mailbox. You're scrolling down to retention policy. So now you can see it's no longer the default MRA policy. Rather, you have the um, prosper retention policy that we created. So that's basically all. And what did I say is the last thing you do? After applying the retention policies, you should run the start manage folder assistant PowerShell command. Hmm? Start start manage folder assistant. I want to share the article with you. So this is it. It's a PowerShell command. I'll just copy that out of the article and share with you. So this is it. I'll click copy. After clicking copy, okay, I won't click that PowerShell command now. I'll rather click the article and share with you on Teams, in the Teams chat. Should I click on the switch because it's not going out after clicking cancel? Oh, sorry, I'm just seeing your message. Yeah. So I've just shared the link for the Start Manage Folder Assistant. The only thing I need in this article is the PowerShell command. I think you can see my screen. So I'll just copy this. When I copy that, I'll click on this, right? Or I just go to Windows PowerShell. Don't forget, you must run this Windows PowerShell as an admin. I did say it's either you're clicking this one or I'm right clicking on this one and picking run as admin. It's that simple. I do yes. And the next thing I'll just do is connect hyphen exchange online. Hit enter. Yeah, it will always ask you to authenticate. So I'm going to put in my global admin credentials. That's Rafia, this one. Okay, in, right? So that PowerShell command I copied from the article. I'll just come here. I'm going to maximize so you can see. So my Exchange Online module is still loading. Cool. I'll just paste that PowerShell command here. Start manage folder assistant identity. So the identity here is Chris, right? But my own identity is not Chris. My identity is who? My own identity is Abel, right? So I'll just come back to Abel. I'll come back to Abel, go to general, copy Abel's email address. We're using Abel's email address. I'm not using Chris. I'm using the email address. So I'll just move my cursor backwards and do the Control V, which is paste. Then I hit enter. That's all. So once that is done, you can see it's returned clean. So basically, we've created a retention tag, created a retention policy, applied the retention policy on Abel's mailbox. And that brings us to the end of today's class. Yeah, we applied the retention policy to Abel's mailbox, then ran the start manage folder assistant for it to process. So that'll be all for this class. I would stop the recording, stop the screen share. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hope I wasn't too fast.